The first time Maris Calder realized she might die on the job, she wasn't staring down a gun. She was holding a tray of champagne flutes at Ravenna House, where the curtains never opened and security cameras pointed at guests, not the street. A hush fell over the long table as two men entered side by side, identical in the way a blade has two edges. Same dark hair, same cold, polished smiles. One wore a silver signet ring, the other wore none, as if he didn't need symbols to prove anything. The staff had one rule: do not look directly at the Salvatore twins. Maris failed immediately, because between them walked a third man, taller, broader, moving like he owned the air in the room. His suit was simple, expensive, without shouting. His eyes were the kind that kept their secrets but never lied. Everyone stood when they entered, so everyone except the twins. Only the third man paused, just a fraction, when his gaze met Maris's, as if he recognized her from a place she'd never been. Then it happened. A waitress at the far end, new, trembling, dropped a fork. A small clatter, a harmless mistake. The twin with the ring leaned in and whispered something. The girl's face drained of colour so fast it looked like the light had left her skin. Maris didn't hear the words, but she saw the message land like a slap. And she watched the other twin grin, slow and satisfied. The third man didn't grin. He didn't even blink, but his jaw flexed once, hard. Maris should have kept moving. Instead, she froze, and the twin without the ring noticed. His eyes slid over her like a hand. "You," he said softly, as if tasting the syllable. "Bring the wine." Maris's fingers tightened around the tray. Her manager had warned her, when predators invite you closer, they're testing if you'll run. Maris didn't run. Not because she was brave, because she was here for a reason. Under her apron, taped against her ribs, was a tiny recorder the police hadn't officially given her. And in her pocket was a list of names that kept her up at night. 3 weeks earlier, someone had tried to kill her. And the only clue she had was a single phrase hissed into her ear as she lay bleeding on a pavement. "Ravenna House, Salvatore's. Don't trust the boss." As Maris approached the table, she realized her recorder was running. This wasn't just about serving wine anymore. This was about survival. Ravenna House was all velvet and candles, the kind of luxury that felt like a warning. Maris poured the wine with hands that didn't tremble. She'd learned to hide fear the way she learned to balance a tray. The twins spoke like men used to being obeyed. "We don't stop," the ringed twin murmured, not caring who heard. "We finish what we start." His brother laughed under his breath. The new waitress, still pale, stood behind a chair like a statue. Maris glanced at her, trying to communicate without words. "Are you okay?" The girl's eyes flicked up, desperate, then down again. Her lips moved. "Help me." Before Maris could step toward her, the third man, Dante Rivas, shifted, positioning himself between the twins and the staff. It was subtle, a movement so small no one would call it protection. But it was. Maris felt it. Dante's gaze met hers again, and this time he held it. And just long enough for Maris to notice the smallest detail, a thin scar near his temple hidden beneath his hairline, like the past had tried to mark him and failed. Then he looked away, toward the exit, as if measuring distance, as if calculating timing. Maris's recorder warmed against her skin. This was the moment she'd been chasing. She leaned in to refill water near the twins, keeping her posture neutral, her eyes lowered. That's when the twin without the ring spoke again, quiet but sharp. "You've got a face that belongs in a better place," he said. "What's your name?" Maris lied smoothly. "Raina." The ringed twin smirked. "Raina," he repeated, as if filing it under property. Dante's head turned a fraction. His eyes flicked to Maris, warning, not interest. Then the ringed twin set his glass down and spoke to the manager. "Send the staff away, we want privacy." The manager nodded too quickly. The other servers began to retreat. Maris stepped back too, until a firm hand caught her wrist. Not Dante's, the twin without the ring. "No," he said gently. "She stays." Dante rose from his seat. The room went still. Even the twins paused like animals sensing a larger predator. "You're done," Dante said calmly. The ringed twins' smile tightened. We decide when we're done. Dante didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. I said you're done, he repeated, and the air changed. Pressure, gravity, the unspoken promise of violence. The twins exchanged a glance, amusement and challenge. Maris tried to pull her wrist free. The twin held tighter. Dante's eyes slid to the grip on Maris like a blade finding a seam. Let her go. The twin chuckled. Or what? Dante didn't answer with words. He stepped closer, and for one heartbeat Maris saw what power really looked like. Not shouting, not threats. Just a man who moved like consequences followed him. The twin released her wrist. You've seen how high the stakes are now. But this is just the beginning. What happens next will change everything. Comment where you're watching from. Now let's get into it. Subscribe now and stay with us. You won't want to miss what's coming. Can you walk away now, knowing you've come this far? After the twins left, laughing, unbothered, Dante approached Maris. Up close, he smelled like smoke and rain, like someone who lived in storms. You shouldn't be here, he said. Maris forced her voice steady. Neither should you. Dante's eyes narrowed. Who sent you? No one, Maris lied again. Dante stepped closer. Or you're wearing a wire. Maris's blood turned to ice. She didn't move, didn't reach for it, didn't deny it. Dante exhaled once, slow. They'll kill you for that. They already tried, Maris whispered before she could stop herself. Dante froze, the smallest crack in his composure. Maris saw it and felt a strange, dangerous surge of hope, because cracks meant human, and humans could be swayed. Why did you stop them? She asked. Dante looked past her, toward a hallway door marked, staff only. Because the Salvatores don't get to take what they want, he said, voice low. Not anymore. Maris followed his gaze. A second later, she heard something, faint, muffled. A cry. Not from the dining room, from below. Maris took a step toward the staff door. Dante's hand shot out, stopping her. No. There's someone down there, Maris said. Dante's jaw tightened. Maris moved anyway, fueled by the kind of anger that had kept her alive since her sister disappeared 2 years ago. Her sister's last message had been one line. I found where they hide the girls. Then silence. Maris had spent 2 years clawing at dead ends, and now she was standing near a locked door with a muffled cry beneath it. Dante grabbed a key from the manager's desk and unlocked the door with the ease of someone who'd done it before. The stairwell smelled like damp stone and bleach. Down below, the lights were too bright. A basement corridor stretched out, clean, clinical, wrong. And behind a reinforced door, Maris heard breathing. Dante punched in a code. The door opened. Inside, a woman sat on the floor, arms wrapped around her knees, eyes wide with fear. Bruises bloomed on her wrist like dark flowers. And Maris gasped. The woman looked up and Maris felt the world tilt, because the woman looked almost exactly like Maris. Same dark curls, same cheekbones, same eyes, but older, ragged, alive. Maris, the woman whispered. Maris's throat closed. Talia? Her sister lunged forward and wrapped her arms around her, shaking. I thought you were dead, Maris sobbed. Talia's voice broke. I tried to come back. They wouldn't let me. They said I was a lesson. Maris turned, fury blazing. Dante stood in the doorway like a statue made of guilt. You knew, Maris hissed. You knew this was here. Dante's eyes flickered away. I suspected. You're lying. Dante didn't deny it. He didn't explain immediately. He moved fast, handing Maris his phone, telling her to call someone she trusted. He kept watch, scanning the corridor like danger lived in the walls. When Maris finished the call, an off-the-record contact in the city's internal affairs, she faced Dante with tears dried into rage. Talk. Dante's voice was quiet. I wasn't always... this. Maris's laugh was bitter. What, a hero? I'm not a hero, Dante said. I'm a man paying for his sins. He looked at Talia, at the bruises, the fear. His jaw tightened like it hurt to breathe. The Salvatores didn't start with this restaurant, he said. They started with leverage. They buy officials. They compromise judges. They make people disappear. I built systems for them, security, logistics. I thought I was making myself untouchable. Maris's stomach churned. And then? Dante's eyes turned dark. Then I saw what they really were. He took a slow breath, and I tried to leave. Maris waited. Till Dante's voice sharpened. You don't leave them. You escape. Or you die. Talia flinched at the edge in his tone. Dante softened just slightly. I've been dismantling them piece by piece from the inside. I've been collecting evidence. But your presence tonight, your wire, forced their hand. Maris stared. You recognized me. Dante's eyes met hers. I recognized your face because I saw a photo in a file labeled Calder. I didn't know you were coming. Maris's hands shook. So why stop them from taking me? Why not let them... Dante's voice cut in, hard. Because I don't let them take anyone anymore. There was something raw under his control, something like rage, something like regret. Maris realized Dante's rescue wasn't kindness, it was a war declaration. And now she and Talia were in the blast zone. Now they moved Talia quickly, out through the staff corridors, into a service elevator that smelled like oil and cold metal. Dante led them to a black car in the alley. Maris thought they were safe, until the headlights flooded the alley with white glare. A police cruiser blocked the exit. An officer stepped out, confident, smiling. Maris recognized him instantly. Detective Rowan Cade, the man who had promised for 2 years that he was working the case. The man who had told Maris to stop asking questions. The man who had implied she was hysterical. He raised his hands in a mock-friendly gesture. Evening, Dante, he called. And you must be Maris. Maris's blood ran cold. How do you know my name? She whispered. Rowan's smile widened. Because some people still pay attention. Dante's hand moved behind his back, subtle. A weapon, Maris realized. Hidden. Rowan glanced at the basement door behind them. Did you really think you could walk out with their asset? That's cute. Talia whimpered, pressing herself against Maris. Maris's voice shook. You were supposed to help us. Rowan shrugged. I helped myself. That's how the city works. Then he leaned in, voice lowering, almost conversational. They're very interested in you, Maris. The twins love a stubborn girl. Maris's stomach turned. Dante's voice dropped to something dangerous. Step aside, Rowan laughed. Or what, boss? You'll shoot a cop? Dante's eyes didn't blink. Yes, he said simply. The alley erupted into motion. Rowan reached for his gun. Dante moved first, fast, precise, slamming the car door open as a shield, shoving Maris and Talia down behind it. A shot cracked the air. Metal sparked. Maris screamed. Dante fired back. One clean shot that hit the cruiser's tire. The cruiser lurched. Rowan cursed and ducked. Move, Dante barked. They ran. Maris didn't know where they were going. She only knew her lungs burned and Talia's hand was ice in hers. Dante led them through a narrow passage behind the restaurant into an old service tunnel. Brick walls, dripping pipes, the city's underbelly. Behind them, footsteps pounded. Rowan was shouting into a radio. Maris's mind raced. If Rowan was bought, then the police were compromised. If the police were compromised, then justice wasn't coming. They had to bring justice themselves. Dante shoved open a steel door at the end of the tunnel. Inside was a hidden garage. A second car waited, engine already running. Dante turned to Maris, eyes intense. Get in. Maris hesitated. Where are you taking us? Dante's voice was grim. To the only place they won't search. Maris swallowed. And where is that? Dante's mouth tightened. My enemy's house, he said. The enemy's house wasn't a mansion. It was an abandoned church on the edge of the river, stained glass shattered, pews covered in dust, candle wax hardened like old tears. But beneath the altar, behind a hidden panel, was a room that looked nothing like holy ruin. Computers, monitors, files, evidence boards covered in photos and names. A war room. Dante locked the door and turned to Maris. I didn't bring you here to scare you, he said. I brought you here because they're going to come for you, and I can't protect you from the outside. Talia sat on a cot, wrapped in a blanket, staring into space. Maris's anger shook. You built systems for them. You help them become monsters. Dante didn't argue. He stepped closer, voice low. And now I'm going to tear them apart. Maris wanted to hate him, but then she saw his hands, knuckles scarred, fingers shaking slightly as if the violence he carried lived under his skin. What do you want from me? She demanded. Dante looked at her like the answer hurt. Your testimony, he said. Your wire. Your courage. Maris's laugh was bitter. Courage? I'm terrified. Dante's eyes softened, just enough to feel like warmth. So am I, he admitted. That honesty hit harder than any threat. For a moment in the broken church, they were two people standing in the ruins of choices, and Maris felt something she hated. Connection. Forbidden. Dangerous. Complicated. The kind of love that didn't ask permission. The next morning, Dante showed Maris a file labelled Calder/Leverage. Inside were photos of her, leaving work, entering her apartment, sitting in a cafe, and one photo that made Maris's stomach drop. Her father. Shaking hands with the ringed Salvatore twin. Maris's voice broke. That's impossible. My father's been dead for years. Dante's face was unreadable. Then someone wants you to believe he is. Maris stared. What are you saying? Dante tapped the photo, then pulled up a second image. Grainy security footage from years ago. A man being shoved into a car. The date matched the day Maris was told her father died in an accident. Maris's knees went weak. He didn't die, she whispered. Dante's voice was low. He was taken. And if he's alive, it's because he knows something they'll kill to keep buried. Maris's world shattered in slow motion. Talia's voice came from behind them, thin, haunted. I heard them talk, she said, about a ledger, about bloodlines, about heirs. Maris turned, confusion and horror mixing. Dante's eyes narrowed. The Salvatores are building an empire, he said, and they're obsessed with legacy. They want someone to inherit what they can't keep. Maris realized what the twins' whispers had been about at Ravenna House. Not romance. Control. Ownership. Breeding power. Maris's skin crawled. Is that why they took Talia? She asked, voice raw. Because of our bloodline. Dante nodded slowly. Your family has something they want, something in your blood, your history. What could we possibly have that matters to them? Dante's eyes met hers. Legitimacy, Dante explained as Talia slept, exhausted from her ordeal. The Salvatores came from nothing, he said. Built power through fear. But fear only lasts until someone stronger comes along. He pulled out an old newspaper. 20 years ago, your father was the city's most respected judge. Maris nodded. Before I thought he died. He wasn't just respected. He was clean, untouchable. Dante's voice hardened. The Salvatores need that kind of name to wash their money, their reputation. Maris felt sick. So they didn't kill him. They kept him. And they want his daughters, Dante confirmed. Pure bloodlines with clean reputations. The perfect front. Maris paced the small room. But why now? Why after all these years? Because I started dismantling them, Dante said. They're losing grip. Getting desperate. A plan began forming. Evidence collection. Federal agents Dante trusted. A way to expose the entire operation. Maris stopped suddenly, turning to Dante. Why are you doing this? Really? Dante was quiet for so long, Maris thought he wouldn't answer. I had a sister, he finally said. She caught their eye, by the time I found her. He didn't finish. He didn't need to. Maris reached out, fingers hovering near his hand without touching. The first gesture of trust. I'm sorry. Dante looked at her hand, then her face. That's why I recognized you at Ravenna House. Your determination. The way you looked at them without flinching. His voice softened. You reminded me of her. The air between them changed. Charged. Dangerous. Dante stepped back, clearing his throat. We need to move fast. Rowan will have the local police looking for us. He pulled out a laptop, showing her surveillance of Ravenna House. The twins keep their records close. We need to get back in. Maris's heart raced. You want me to go back? After they've seen my face? No, Dante said. We go together, and we take everything they have. Their eyes locked, and Maris felt it again. That pull, that gravity, that terrible understanding. Two broken people with nothing left to lose but each other. As Dante touched her hand, an alarm blared through the hidden sanctuary. They'd been found. The alarm wailed as they fled the church hideout. Dante moved with cold precision, grabbing only essentials, a hard drive, a weapon, and a worn leather journal. They escaped through an underground passage moments before flashlights swept the abandoned sanctuary above. How did they find us? Maris whispered, clutching Talia's hand in the darkness. Dante's face hardened. Someone's always watching. The second safe house wasn't what Maris expected. It was a modest home on the edge of the city, faded curtains, worn furniture, a place frozen in time, dust-covered picture frames like snow over memories. Whose house is this? Maris asked as Dante checked the perimeter. His eyes met hers. Mine. From before. Before what? Before I became who they wanted me to be. Maris studied him in the dim light, the careful way he moved, the controlled violence in his hands, the softness that remained in his eyes despite everything. Who are you really, Dante? She asked. He was silent for a long moment. I was their accountant, he finally said. Then their cleaner, then their enforcer. Talia flinched at the word. And now? Maris pressed. Now I'm the thing they fear most, Dante said simply. Or someone who knows where the bodies are buried because I put them there. While Talia slept, Maris explored the house, touching forgotten books, examining abandoned clothes. A life interrupted. In a desk drawer, she found a photo that stopped her breath. A young woman with Dante's eyes, a familiar smile, and next to her, unmistakable despite the years, Maris's mother. Her hands shook as she brought the photo to Dante. Explain this, she demanded. Dante stared at the image like it physically hurt him. Your mother was my sister's best friend, he said quietly. Before the Salvatores took everything. Maris felt the ground shift beneath her feet. That's why you recognized me. That's why I've been waiting for you, he corrected. I promised your mother I'd protect her daughters if... He stopped. If what? Maris whispered. If they ever found you. You've been with us through so much already. Maris discovering her sister, learning about her father, and now uncovering her connection to Dante. The worst is yet to come. Can you really walk away now knowing what's at stake? Subscribe now, comment where you're watching from. Let's get into it, because what happens next will change everything. Morning brought a dangerous clarity. We need to draw them out, Dante said, spreading maps across the kitchen table. Away from their protection. Talia's hands trembled around her coffee mug. They'll kill you both. They'll try, Dante replied. Maris studied the plans, a dock by the river, security blind spots, escape routes. Her heart hammered against her ribs. It's not enough to run, she realized aloud. We need to end this. Dante nodded. All the Salvatores have a weakness. Pride. He pushed a burner phone toward her. They want you. Let's use that. Maris composed the message with steady fingers. I know what you did to my family. Meet me, alone. The response came within minutes, coordinates for the dock at midnight. While they waited, Dante contacted the only federal agent he trusted, a woman named Ray, who operated outside local jurisdiction. She'll witness everything, Dante assured Maris. No matter what happens to us, the evidence survives. As dusk fell, Maris watched Talia sleep in the spare bedroom, her sister returned from the dead, her family broken and scattered. She stays here, Maris said, with Ray's protection. Agreed, Dante said, checking his weapon. The silence between them pulsed with unspoken words. Maris broke it first. Or if we don't make it back? Dante's fingers caught her wrist, gentle, not restraining. His touch burned through her skin. We will. His eyes held hers, and suddenly the space between them felt too small, too charged with everything they couldn't say. Why did you really keep fighting? Maris whispered. After your sister. After everything they took, Dante's voice roughened, because some promises matter more than survival. His hand moved to her face, hovering near her cheek without touching, as if asking permission. Maris leaned into his palm. For one heartbeat, the world narrowed to just this, his warmth against her skin, his breath mixing with hers. Then Ray arrived, breaking the moment. The dock was shrouded in fog when they arrived, water lapping against wooden pillars like whispered warnings. Maris wore her wire again, this time connected to Ray's recording system. Dante positioned himself in shadows, weapon ready. The twins arrived in a black SUV. They didn't come alone. Detective Rowan stepped out first, smiling that same smug smile. Then the twins, matching suits, matching cold eyes. And then a third figure emerged, older, thinner. Maris's breath caught in her throat. "Dad?" she whispered. Maris's father lifted a trembling hand. "Maris, I did what I had to." Maris's voice cracked. "You let them take Talia." Talia's sob echoed across the dock. Dante's jaw clenched. Rowan laughed. "Families, always messy." The ringed twin stepped forward. "Here's how this ends. You come with us, Maris. Your sister lives. Your father lives." Maris's world narrowed. She felt the pull of fear, old, familiar. Then she felt Dante beside her, as steady as stone. He didn't touch her. He didn't force her. He just stood there, offering presence. Choice. Maris inhaled sharply. "I'm done being your leverage," she said. And she reached into her jacket not for a weapon, for the flash drive Dante had given her. She tossed it into the water. The ringed twins' eyes widened. "What did you do?" Dante answered. "Uploaded it." In the distance, sirens wailed. Not local. Federal. Rowan's smile vanished. The twins moved. Too late. Maris's father collapsed to his knees, sobbing. "You don't understand," he pleaded. "They threatened to kill you both. I had to work for them." Maris stared down at him, tears hot on her face. "Did you know Talia was alive? That they had her?" Her father's silence was answer enough. The ringed twin lunged for Maris, rage distorting his face. Dante moved like lightning, putting himself between them. "It's over," Dante said. "The evidence is already with the Justice Department." The twin without the ring laughed coldly. "You think evidence matters? We own this city." "But not the federal government," came Ray's voice as she stepped from the shadows, badge gleaming. Maris watched her father's face crumple with the realization that his nightmare wouldn't end with a deal or a bargain. "I wanted to hate you," she whispered to him. "But hate is how they win." She turned away. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But freedom. Federal agents flooded the dock, shouting commands. Rowan tried to run. A federal agent tackled him to the wooden boards. The twins fought, but their power meant nothing against numbers and evidence. Maris stood apart, watching justice arrive loud. Handcuffs, shouted orders. Cameras capturing faces that had hidden for years. Then she saw Dante still watching the twins, still vigilant, still protecting. A glint of metal caught her eye. A third twin, one Maris had never seen, emerged from behind a shipping container, weapon raised. "Dante!" Maris screamed. Dante spun, drawing his own gun. 2 shots rang out. The unknown twin fell, but Dante staggered backward, clutching his side. Maris ran to him as he dropped to one knee, blood seeping between his fingers. "Stay with me," she begged, pressing her hands against the wound. His eyes found hers, clear despite the pain. "I kept my promise," he said. Agents surrounded them, calling for medics. Through the chaos, Talia appeared, wrapped in Ray's protective hold. The sisters embraced while paramedics worked on Dante. "Is it really over?" Talia whispered. Maris watched as the Salvatore twins were pushed into separate vehicles, their empire crumbling in real time. "For them, yes," she said. Dante was loaded onto a stretcher, still conscious, still watching Maris with those intent eyes. As they carried him toward the ambulance, he caught her wrist. "There's more," he said, voice tight with pain. "Things you don't know." Maris leaned close. "Tell me later." When you're safe. His fingers tightened. No, you need to know. A cough interrupted him, speckling his lips with red. The third twin. He wasn't working alone. The paramedics pushed Maris back, whisking Dante into the ambulance. As the doors closed, Maris felt Ray's hand on her shoulder. He'll make it, Ray assured her. He's survived worse. Maris watched the ambulance disappear into the night, its sirens fading. What did he mean? Talia asked. Before Maris could answer, her father approached, flanked by agents. Maris, he said broken, I never meant for any of this to happen. She looked at him, really looked at him, and saw a shell of the man she'd once admired. Why did they want us? She asked. What's in our blood that matters so much? Her father's eyes darted nervously to the federal agents. It's not what's in our blood, he said quietly. It's what's in our name, the Calder estate, the trust funds, the offshore accounts no one can access without you and Talia. Maris felt cold realization wash over her. This wasn't just about power or control. It was about money. Old money. Money even the Salvatores couldn't touch without the Calder daughters. As Maris processed this, her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Hospital. Room 302. Come alone. Maris stood outside hospital room 302, heart pounding in her throat. The text message had come from an unknown number. It could be a trap. It could be Dante. She pushed the door open anyway. Inside, Dante lay pale against white sheets, monitors beeping steadily beside him. Federal agents stood guard outside, but the room itself was empty except for him. His eyes opened when she entered. You came. Maris moved to his side, relief washing through her. Of course I came. The phone, he said, voice rough. It wasn't me who texted you. Maris froze. Then who? The door opened again. A woman entered. Elegant grey-streaked hair pulled into a tight bun. She looked at Maris with eyes that matched Dante's exactly. Hello, Maris Calder, the woman said. I'm Victoria Rivas, or Dante's mother. Dante's hand tightened around Maris's. She's the one who helped me get out. Victoria moved to Dante's other side, checking his bandages with practiced hands. I was a nurse before I married into the wrong family. The Rivas family is connected to the Salvatores? Maris asked. Victoria's mouth thinned. I was married to Leonardo Salvatore, the original, the twins' father. Maris stared. You're there. Stepmother, Victoria finished. And Dante's mother. The twins were from Leonardo's first marriage. Dante's jaw clenched. When my father died, they decided I wasn't family anymore. But you were still useful, Victoria added bitterly. Maris felt pieces clicking together. That's how you built their systems. You were already inside, Dante nodded, wincing. Until I saw what they did to my sister. Your mother's friend. Victoria pulled something from her bag, a newspaper clipping showing the Calder family decades earlier. Maris's mother stood radiant beside her father, two little girls playing at their feet. Your mother wasn't just Anna's friend, Victoria said softly. She was her protector. When the twins started showing interest in Anna, your mother helped her disappear. Maris felt the weight of history pressing down. So, they came after my family instead. They never forgive, Dante said. And they never forget. Victoria touched a monitor, checking Dante's vitals. The Calder fortune was a bonus. Your father's reputation as a judge was the real prize. And now, Maris asked. Victoria's eyes darkened. Now the twins will face justice, but there's someone else. A commotion outside interrupted her. Raised voices, a crash. The hospital room door burst open. Ray stood there, breathless. The third brother, she said. Marcus Salvatore. He wasn't on any record. He escaped federal custody. The hospital lights flickered once, twice. Then darkness swallowed everything except the glow of emergency backup lights. Victoria moved to the window, peering out. They're coming, Maris felt cold certainty wash over her. For Dante. No, Dante said, struggling to sit up. For you and Talia, the last Calders, the final loose ends. The darkness was absolute. Hospital backup generators should have kicked in immediately. They hadn't. This was planned. Ray drew her weapon. "Where's Talia?" "Safe house," Maris answered. "With your team." Victoria was already helping Dante up, unhooking monitors with practiced efficiency. "Can't we have 3 minutes before they reach this floor?" Maris stared. "How can you know that?" "Because I designed their protocols," Dante said, voice tight with pain. "Building entry, guard neutralization, target acquisition." Victoria handed Maris a small black device. "Security fob. Elevator override." Ray positioned herself by the door. "I'll hold them off." "Not alone," Victoria said, pulling a sleek weapon from her ankle holster. Maris gaped. "I survived 30 years with the Salvatores," Victoria said simply. "I didn't do it by being helpless." They moved like shadows through darkened corridors, Dante leaning heavily against Maris. Footsteps echoed from the stairwell. A door opened somewhere ahead. Dante pulled Maris into a supply closet, pressing her against the wall as figures moved past outside. His body was hot with fever, his breath shallow against her neck. "If we don't make it," he whispered, "there's a safety deposit box, key under the floorboard in my childhood bedroom." "We're making it," Maris insisted. His hand found her face in the darkness. "I should have told you sooner. About your mother. About my promise." "Tell me now," Maris said. Dante's voice softened. "She saved my sister from them, gave her a new life, a new name. I swore I'd watch over you and Talia if they ever found you. That's why you were at Ravenna House that night. I've been watching for years," he admitted, "making sure they never got close." A gunshot cracked the silence, then another. Maris's heart stuttered. "Ray," she breathed. Dante straightened, fighting through pain. "We need to move, now." They slipped back into the corridor, Maris supporting Dante's weight. The elevator at the end of the hall stood open, held by Victoria's security override. They were halfway there when a figure stepped into their path. Not Marcus Salvatore. Rowan Cade, the detective, blood streaming from a gash on his temple. "You just don't know when to die," he snarled, raising his weapon. Before he could fire, a blur of motion knocked him sideways. Ray, wounded but fighting, tackled him to the floor. "Go!" she shouted. Maris dragged Dante forward as sounds of struggle filled the corridor. They reached the elevator just as Victoria appeared, limping but alive. "Marcus?" Dante asked as the doors closed. Victoria's smile was grim. "We'll need facial reconstruction." In the service tunnel below the hospital, a car waited. As Dante eased into the back seat, he pulled Maris close. His lips found hers, gentle, questioning, then fierce with promise. When they broke apart, his eyes held hers. "This isn't over." "I know," Maris said, "but we're not alone anymore." As Victoria drove them away from the hospital, security cameras caught their escape. And in a darkened room across the city, someone watched the footage with calculating eyes. Not a Salvatore twin, not Marcus, but someone whose face Maris would recognize all too well when they finally met. 6 months later, Maris stood in the back of a crowded courtroom, watching justice unfold in real time. The Salvatore twins sat expressionless as the judge delivered their sentences. 40 years, no parole. Their empire dismantled piece by piece, their assets frozen, their name now synonymous with corruption. Detective Rowan Cade had turned state's evidence, trading testimony for protection. Marcus Salvatore remained at large, a ghost haunting the edges of their victory. Talia sat beside Maris, squeezing her hand as the gavel fell. "It's really over," Talia whispered. But Maris wasn't sure. Not completely. Outside the courthouse, Dante waited, leaning against a sleek black car. His wound had healed, leaving another scar to join the collection mapping his past. "You did it," he said as Maris approached. She shook her head. "We did it." Their eyes held for a moment, that same gravity, that same pull. Maris still felt it every time they were close, the impossible connection between two people forged in fire. "The Calder estate is legally yours now," Dante said. "Both of you. No one can touch it." Maris looked back at the courthouse steps where their father stood alone. Thinner, greyer, a free but broken. He'd received immunity for his testimony, but the price was high: his daughter's trust. "He wants to see you," Dante said softly. "Not yet," Maris replied. "Someday, maybe." Victoria had disappeared after the hospital escape, leaving only a note. "When it's safe, I'll find you." Ray had been promoted, tasked with hunting Marcus, and Maris and Dante had found something neither expected: a quiet peace in the aftermath of chaos. "What now?" Maris asked. Dante's hand found hers, fingers intertwining. "Now we live." His kiss tasted like promise, like a future neither had dared imagine. As they drove away from the courthouse, Maris's phone buzzed with a notification from the security system at her new apartment. Package delivered. Hours later, she opened her door to find a single envelope on the floor. No return address. Inside, to 3 words written in familiar handwriting: "I'm not finished. This is where our story ends for now. But is it really over? What will happen when the mysterious sender makes their next move? Who's still hunting Maris and Dante? Subscribe now to find out when the next chapter drops. Leave a comment with your theories about who sent that final message. Was it Marcus Salvatore, or someone we haven't even met yet? If you've made it this far in their journey, can you really walk away now?